better not let me down. You know Grandma and Grandpa are old. They need help. Yeah, Mom, don't worry. Everything will be fine. Okay then, go on, Mom said, and after kissing my cheek, she headed for the car. I climbed onto the bus, paid my fare, and stood at the very back. The bus was packed to the brim with people, and to make matters worse, it was scorching hot outside. Unfortunately for me, I had to ride it all the way to the last stop. About halfway through the trip, the number of passengers thinned out noticeably, and it became much easier to breathe. A fresh breeze blew in through the open windows. I turned my face into the wind, greedily inhaling the air. Last stop, the driver shouted as we pulled into the bus station. Feeble-looking old women grabbed their bags and rushed for the doors, elbowing each other out of the way. I wasn't in a hurry, so I patiently waited my turn. I hadn't told my family I was coming. I decided to surprise them, so to speak. As I approached the gate, I saw Grandpa sitting on the porch, lighting a cigarette. "Grandpa, give me one too," I shouted as I walked onto the property. "Well, look who it is. Grandma, come here. The grandson has arrived." We hugged tightly, and I smelled the scent of cigarettes. Grandma rushed out of the house and threw her arms around me. "Stasik, why didn't you tell us you were coming?" "I wanted to surprise you," I said. "Some surprise? The fridge is completely empty. There's nothing at all." I felt for her, of course, but I knew she was exaggerating, and I wasn't wrong. In an instant, the table was covered with pickles, boiled potatoes, a 3-liter jar of compote, and much, much more. "So, are you staying for long?" Grandpa asked. "A couple of weeks for sure. We'll see after that," I replied. "You should stay. Stay until September, even. What's there for you to do in that city of yours?" "Just breathe in dust and smog," Grandma said. "We'll see. If my parents don't call me back, I'll stay longer." "Are there any people my age around here?" "There aren't many young people, but they come for the summer," she answered. "I heard Yasha arrived the day before yesterday." "No way," I asked with my mouth full. "Yep, so you should definitely go see him. Yasha was my childhood friend. The last time we saw each other, I think we were 13. Unfortunately, we didn't exchange contact information back then. I don't know why. I guess I took our friendship for granted. My parents and I used to visit the village quite often, and they sent me here for every school break. Then, suddenly, we just stopped coming. I tried to find him on social media but couldn't. Maybe he used a different name, or maybe he didn't use social media at all. When we finished lunch, I helped Grandma clear the table and then decided to take a walk through the village, hoping to run into someone. I was strolling down the main street and came across the village store. The sun was beating down mercilessly, so I decided to buy a bottle of cold water. "Are you even 18? A heavy-set shopkeeper asked the young guy standing in front of me. "I can show you my ID." The guy showed the shopkeeper his ID, and a smile suddenly appeared on her face. "Yasha, is that you? I hardly recognize you. The last time I saw you was about 5 years ago, but I recognized you right away, Aunt Natasha," he replied. While he was putting his items into a bag, I lightly touched his shoulder and asked, "Do you remember me too?" Yasha turned around slowly. He looked at me for a few seconds, then asked, "Stas, is that you?" "Yeah, hey." We hugged tightly, and then I bought my water and quickly left the store with Yasha. "Are you heading somewhere?" I asked, gesturing to his bag. "Oh, this? Yeah. My parents asked me to pick it up. They're heating up the banya and are going to grill shashlik tonight. But yeah, I was about to head out. I just need to drop this bag at home first. Want to come with me?" "Where to?" "Do you remember Uncle Grisha? Lives at the end of the street, in the red house," he said. An image of a wiry little man with gold teeth immediately popped into my head. "I think so." a skinny guy with gold teeth? Yeah, that's him. It's a long story. To put it simply, he's lost his mind. The local old ladies look after him, including my grandma. And while I'm here, they decided to send me to check on him. What happened to him? Who the hell knows? Some say it runs in his family. Others say he was cursed. A third story is that his worthless daughter grew up and never visits him. You never know who to believe. But curses and all that hocus pocus, I find it hard to believe. Yasha's expression changed slightly. You're no fun, Stasik, he said. The conversation made the walk fly by, and soon Yasha announced, well, we're here. I looked at the red house. In my childhood, it had seemed much bigger and more majestic. Now, it looked hunched over and smaller, as if imitating its owner. Yasha easily opened the gate, and as he entered the house, he called out, Uncle Grisha, it's me. Hello. In response, the old man just coughed. I hesitated on the threshold, but Yasha turned and waved me in. The moment I took a step, however, he stopped me. Hey, don't be scared, okay? You know, what's there to be afraid of? I didn't understand. You'll see. Come on. I obediently followed him. The house reeked of tobacco, sweat, and something sour. But that wasn't the worst part. What shocked me most was that all the walls were covered in crosses. Tiny crosses started at the baseboards and went up to my eye level. Some were scratched into the paint, others drawn with chalk, charcoal, pencil, or pen. The sight took my breath away. I involuntarily grabbed Yasha's sleeve. Listen, I don't feel so good. He just looked at me and said with a good-natured smile, Relax, Uncle Grisha is harmless. I wanted to believe my friend, but my brain was picturing all sorts of terrible scenarios. But when we entered the main room, my fear vanished on its own. A small, skinny old man was lying on a worn-out sofa. My fear was replaced by pity. I suggested to Yasha that we clean the old man's house. We cleaned for a couple of hours, and Uncle Grisha didn't say a single word the entire time. It was only when Yasha, on his way out, told him the food containers were in the fridge and that we were leaving, that the old man suddenly came to life. Boys, don't go, he shrieked. Do you hear me? Don't go to the dried-up lake. There's no reason to be there after sunset. Go during the day, but don't you dare set foot there after the sun goes down. The old man rasped. A shiver ran down my spine. Yasha, however, seemed used to it. Don't worry, we won't. Goodbye, Uncle Grisha. Take care. Do you have plans tonight? Yasha asked as we stepped out of the gate. Not really. Well, want to meet up later? Sure, I'm down. Excellent. I'll come by your place then. Okay. As we walked, we chatted about random things. Approaching my house, I realized how much I had missed my old friend and that our short walk hadn't been nearly long enough. We definitely had to catch up tonight. My grandparents, however, had other plans. Grandpa grilled fish over the fire. Grandma brought out her homemade infusions, and we spent the evening as a small family. Just in case, I asked beforehand if I could go see Yasha if they went to bed. They agreed, but things didn't go according to plan. I was the first one to pass out. Grandma's infusion was deceptively strong. It went down like juice, and I drank way too much, not even remembering when I fell asleep. At the crack of dawn, Grandma woke me up. Wake up, your friend is here. He says he really wants to see you. Grandma, I groaned. No groaning, get up. I sat up in bed, rubbed my sleepy eyes, and dragged myself out to the yard. Yasha was standing outside the gate. He looked deeply troubled. His whole body was trembling as if from cold, and he kept glancing around nervously. Hey, did you stop by yesterday? Yeah, he mumbled. Sorry about that. I had a bit too much. I passed out before I knew it. It's fine. Forget it. Something happened last night. Tell me, I urged him. You're not going to believe what I saw. So, my parents were grilling shashlik, and we all had a few drinks. I came to get you, but your grandpa said you were already fast asleep. I got bored. Besides, my mom and dad started fighting, so going home wasn't an option. Then I remembered what Uncle Grisha told us. You know, about not going to the dried-up lake. I tried to recall the previous day's events. Yeah, I think so. Well, I was drunk and decided to go check it out. I don't know why. I was bored, that's all. And you won't believe what I saw there. I get there and see some woman in black clothes just walking back and forth. I figured she was a local. I didn't care. Let her walk. So I got closer. She turned around and looked at me. She seemed like a normal, even attractive woman. But then something started happening to her face. Her eyebrows arched unnaturally. Her pupils started to dilate until her eyes were completely black. Her mouth started to grow until it looked like a huge, gaping hole. Holy crap, I muttered. At first, I just stood there, frozen. Then I bolted, running as fast as I could. But I didn't get far. I ran maybe 10 feet before she blocked my path. He stopped abruptly, looked around, and lowered his voice. Then it was like she multiplied. First, 2 more appeared on either side of her, then more and more, and they started dancing in a circle around me. My head started spinning. I threw up, and then I passed out. But right before I lost consciousness, I saw them all. Like, make the sign of the cross over me. Except it wasn't a normal cross. It was like they did it from bottom to top, you know? And that's it. As soon as I came to, I ran straight to you. To say I was floored by his story would be an understatement. His last few sentences especially unsettled me. When Yasha talked about how the women had made that strange sign of the cross. The image of Uncle Grisha's house, with its walls covered in crosses, flashed in my mind. I stared at him for a few seconds, processing what I'd heard, before finally managing to ask, "Didn't your parents look for you?" "No, I didn't have any missed calls. They told me I could come home in the morning if I wanted. Besides, they were dead drunk." "I see. Well, try not to think about it. I bet it's just some locals playing a prank. How much did you drink?" "A lot." "See? You probably just imagined it. Go home. Sleep it off. I'll try to ask my grandparents what that's all about. Hey, if you don't mind, could you walk me home? I'm still shaking." Yasha asked pitifully. "Sure, just let me tell my grandma." As we walked, I watched Yasha closely, but I didn't notice anything else strange. However, as we passed by the church, he suddenly crossed himself. I grabbed his sleeve. "What are you doing?" "Oh, that? Don't worry about it. Just scared." Now, I was scared too. We walked the rest of the way in silence, and on my way back, I found myself involuntarily looking over my shoulder. My grandparents didn't let me sleep in that day. They put me to work right away. I spent most of the day in the garden, on top of other chores. The next day was more or less the same. Somehow, 2 days passed without me leaving our yard. Then, at dinner, my grandpa said, "Help out in the garden tomorrow morning, and after that, you can go hang out. Go to the river with Yasha. They're forecasting a heat wave." Yasha, right. I wonder how he's doing, I thought, but I didn't say it out loud, just agreeing with my grandpa. The next day, I was determined to go see my friend. To be honest, I was afraid. I didn't know of what, exactly, but a voice inside me was screaming that something terrible was about to happen. I walked to Yasha's house, opened the gate, and saw him immediately. He was standing on the porch with a cigarette in his hands. The sight of him sent a chill down my spine. The cigarette in his fingers had already gone out, with flecks of ash still clinging to it. His gaze was fixed on nothing, as if he hadn't even noticed me. We stood like that for about 30 seconds before I walked up and shook him sharply by the shoulders. "Ow!" he yelped. "What was that for?" I was just thinking. The way he said "just" grated on my ears. It instantly reminded me of the way the mentally ill Uncle Grisha spoke. "What did you say?" I said I was thinking," he repeated. "How are you? Are you okay?" I asked, concerned. "Number, I can't sleep properly." His words brought a small measure of relief. Maybe it was just sleep deprivation. It seemed unfair to compare him to a seriously ill old man. "You know what? Let's go for a walk." At my suggestion, my friend seemed to brighten up, tossed the dead cigarette butt into a can, and we went out into the street. Overall, Yasha looked like a college student during finals week. If he wasn't sleeping, it was no wonder he was acting this way. I tried to distract him from his dark thoughts and started giving him a lecture. "Look, you have to take care of yourself. Maybe you should see a doctor. Talk to your parents or your grandma, for goodness sake. She might have some good advice." He just nodded along to my words like a bobblehead doll. Then, as we passed the church, he abruptly stopped and crossed himself. That's when I noticed it. He was drawing the cross in the air the wrong way. I felt sick. A wave of hopelessness and fear washed over me. I don't know how to describe it properly. It was as if I was no longer standing in front of my childhood friend, but someone else. Someone else had taken up residence in his body. I made up an excuse and fled home. I desperately needed to know what was happening to my friend and if there was any way to fix it. My grandmother was home. I'll ask her, I thought, and rushed into the kitchen. Seeing me, she froze. "What happened, grandson?" she asked with concern. "Grandma, you've lived here your whole life. Tell me, why can't people go to the dried up lake? What did you go there, you fool?" "No, there's nothing for you there. I don't care if you're grown. I'll tan your hide so you won't forget it, and then I'll send you back to the city." "I didn't go. What's so special about it?" "It's none of your business. You'd be better off helping me peel these potatoes." Talking to Grandma was useless. I decided to ask Grandpa. While he was smoking on the porch, I questioned him in a low voice about the strange place. He took a long drag from his cigarette, blew out a cloud of smoke, and began his story. "That lake dried up before I was even born. They say a dark force lives there. It appears in the form of a woman, and they say she drives men insane. Only men. After the war, there were already few men left, and then this thing appeared. Truth be told, I don't believe in it. There haven't been that many cases of madness in our village, but I've never gone there myself, not because I was scared, but because there's nothing to do there. Grandpa didn't tell me much else, and there was no one else to ask about the place." Yasha stopped going outside. His parents wouldn't let me into their house. His father walked around gloomier than a thundercloud, and his mother's eyes were constantly swollen and red. I knew things were bad, but I didn't want to just leave it like that. Today it was Yasha who lost his mind. How many more would this thing destroy? My own relatives lived here, after all. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my grandparents. What if one of them ended up there? What then? Horrible thoughts flooded my mind. In the end, I couldn't sleep at all, pacing my room back and forth like a machine. Tears welled up in my eyes from fear. It was one thing to see the mad Uncle Grisha, but it was another thing entirely to watch my childhood friend lose his mind. I have to do something, I thought. and started to get ready. I got dressed, put my cross necklace on, and took a knife with me, just in case. Driven by fear, I tiptoed out into the yard, slipped through the gate, and headed towards the dried-up lake. From a distance, I could see some kind of movement. As I got closer, I realized it was a dark silhouette in black clothes, pacing back and forth as if waiting for someone. I wanted to sneak up on her and slit her throat, but I couldn't move. The figure in black turned around. I saw a beautiful woman standing before me. She stood motionless for a few seconds, and then things happened exactly as Yasha had described. The stranger's face began to change. Her eyebrows arched, her eyes turned black, and her mouth stretched into a grotesque grin. No normal person could open their mouth that wide. I stared at this thing, clutching the knife in my hand. The blade pierced my skin, and something warm trickled down my fingers, but I felt no pain. I felt nothing at all. Meanwhile, she slowly approached me, and then another identical, disfigured woman appeared from behind her shoulder, and then another. I only snapped out of it when they had surrounded me and begun to slowly circle around me in a dance. My hand squeezed the knife tighter and tighter, and then I felt a sharp pain unlike anything I had ever experienced. My loud scream that night must have been heard by the entire village. I finally understood what was happening and knew I had to do something. I don't know why a prayer came to mind then. I repeated the Lord's Prayer over and over in my head and noticed that their circling slowed down. So I started to say it out loud, and the more confident my voice became, the slower their steps grew. Eventually, they stopped completely, and then, one by one, they began to disappear. Soon, only a single entity remained before me. She just stood there, doing nothing. I was afraid to stop praying, but I was also afraid to do anything else. It was only when her right hand, her fingers pinched together, began to rise slowly that I, without thinking, grabbed the knife by the handle and stabbed her with all my might, over and over. The blade slid into her flesh as easily as into butter. A black liquid oozed from the wounds. The creature began to melt like a candle, and then there was nothing left of her but a viscous, dark liquid that the earth immediately began to absorb. I don't remember how I got home that night. I woke up the next morning feeling completely broken. I stumbled to the wash basin and saw in the small mirror that my nose was bleeding. Before I could do anything, I lost consciousness. An ambulance took me to the hospital in the district center. I was there for a long time, about a month. The first few days were a delirious blur. My poor grandparents nearly went mad with worry. But Yasha, he actually did. He was also in the hospital, though a different one. He's now registered with a psychiatrist and is considered legally insane. Rumors about the lake spread through the village like wildfire, and this is the story that reached me. A long time ago, a girl drowned herself in that lake over a tragic love affair. They say she tied a rope around her neck and jumped from the high bank. Apparently, her spirit remained, but in a different form. When the war started, many people went mad. Back then, no one paid it much attention. But after the war ended, the villagers quickly figured out what was going on. The local priest supposedly blessed the lake, but it didn't do any good. So people started to avoid the place. But eventually, it was somehow forgotten. People started going to the lake again, though cautiously. They tried not to stay there after dark, but Uncle Grisha, for some reason, stayed too late. And Yasha, he got bored. He wanted to see for himself. Well, now he